In a galaxy far away, my planet gossips about the stupidity of the planet Earth's violence. The types of magazines that are in the supermarket on your planet that discuss Kim Kardashian, on my planet point out the ridiculousness of fighting in the Middle East. Is what the tabloids say true about Israel? Actually, Israel is like Kim Kardashian. She's a gigantic ass that gets paid for publicizing her problems, and no matter how many negative videos leak of her on the internet, on television, they still give Israel respect. I thought you were going to say Israel also likes to bang minorities, but leave it to the left-winger to botch his own joke with political correctness. Huh? Explain it to me again. Alright, let's go over it again. In the previous episode, we learned that in the 1967 war, Israel conquered all of the remaining land of Palestine. Oh, I remember this from the last episode. The Americans and Israelis take opposite approaches. American wars last a long-ass time, but afterwards they quickly silence dissent. The Israelis fight a 6-day war, but then spend the next 50 years bickering over the borders. So what happened after the 6-day war? So the group, the PLO, or Palestine Liberation Organization, was formed to take that land back. You're forgetting to mention that the PLO is also a terrorist group because they indiscriminately target civilians. Because they're on their land. If I invade your country and then have a bunch of Cub Scouts set up tents and they're immune to attack, then why would you ever use soldiers? Just go in with Cub Scouts and they're all immune. Oh wait, that's the West Bank. I should resist the occupation. But they're adorable. We tried to live in harmony, but they started these wars. You think we really want to have security forces in all these places? What incidents happened to justify continued security? In 1987, there was a group of riots called the First Intifada, where Palestinians rioted, murdered, destroyed property, all because an Israeli truck driver accidentally killed 4 Palestinians. I mean, really? You're gonna riot over an accident? Everybody knows Jews can't drive. That's the reason that Jews become lawyers, to cover our asses when we suck at parallel parking. And the only reason that Israel continues to maintain soldiers in these regions is to deal with the security issues that arise. What you're saying is ridiculous. They have the moral and legal right to resist with deadly force. For their resistance to serve as the excuse for their oppression is like saying that Bush invaded Iraq to fight the Sunni insurgency. Hey, why are you attacking them? Because they're gonna resist. I want to know more about the PLO. Who is their leader? Well, starting in 1969, the PLO embraced as its leader Yasser Arafat, whose full name is Muhammad Yasser Abdel Rahman Abdel Husseini. Don't you dare call me a racist, because you know damn well that nobody, not even maybe his own mother, can pronounce Yasser Arafat's full name. Man, it must have been tough on substitute teachers when he was in high school. When I say your name, say present. Bob, present. John, present. Muhammad. Now, Yasser Arafat, as a college kid in Egypt, studied civil engineering, which is kind of ironic because he went from designing bridges to blowing them up. You're exaggerating. The PLO only hijacked airplanes. Yeah, well, back then the PLO was the biggest threat. Now it's Hamas. This is very complicated. What is Hamas? Hamas is a Sunni terrorist group formed as a spin-off of the Muslim Brotherhood in 1979 by Ahmed Yassin, who looks like that evil wizard, Saruman, from Lord of the Rings. The path you're setting on can only lead to death. I'd just like to clarify, is he in a wheelchair from combat? No, lifelong illness. It's actually very ironic. Who would have thought that a blind paraplegic could convince people to risk their limbs setting off rockets? Oh, I'll show you how to safely use pyrotechnics. No, I'll tell you the real irony. When Ahmed Yassin formed Hamas, Israel funded him to fight the PLO. Time out. I'm totally confused. So Hamas is Israel's enemy, but Israel funded Hamas. Hamas is Israel's enemy now, but back in the early 80s, Israel's main enemy was the PLO. Now, the PLO was Marxist, which they hated. So Israel funded the right-wing Hamas to fight the secular left-wing PLO. Apparently to conservatives in both America and Israel, arming Islamic extremists is way better than socialism. I will cut off your head in the name of Allah. Well, at least I get to keep my money, right? In all fairness, the Blind Cripples Group originally in 1979 was a charity, so Israel gave him money for kindergartens, mosques, medical clinics, and a library. So, really, Israel was just doing what progressive bitch they always should have done. Basic money for social services. Hey, I'd like to give you humanitarian aid. You funded terrorism! It's true that in 1979, when Ahmed Yassin originally formed Hamas, that it was set up as a charity. But it's wrong that Israel didn't know that some of the money they were giving him would be used for military purposes. That's why when they caught him with a hidden cache of weapons in 1985, they let him out of jail early. So you're saying, we didn't know he was using it for weapons. What's that, we caught him with weapons? You're free to go. As long as the PLO is where you're headed. How do you know this? Is this a conspiracy theory? No theory, straight fact. On the screen are 3 of the Israeli generals and government officials who testified to being directly involved with arming Hamas and expressed regret. We've linked this in the description. Does the United States and the rest of the world consider the PLO a terrorist organization? They did prior to the Oslo Accords of 1993, which were a set of peace agreements negotiated by Bill Clinton between PLO leader Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. It got that name because it was held in Oslo, Norway, far away from the Middle East, because neither side really wanted anyone to know publicly that they were at the negotiating table. Yeah, I think going all the way to Norway to avoid prisoners trapped in the Gaza Strip behind fences with Israeli sniper guards is a little overkill, but hey, better safe than sorry, right? Palestinians traveling to Norway must be like my Jewish grandparents coming up from Florida. Can we turn the heat up? I'm freezing. It's already on. I set the dial to Gaza. What did they agree on at the Oslo Accords? The big landmark of the Oslo Accords was that both sides acknowledged the right of the other to exist. And for that, they both won Nobels. So the bar was set pretty low. Hey, you exist! Nobel. It probably would have thrown off the deal if they only gave it to one side. And the peace award goes to the Jews. I don't understand Earth's vocabulary. What is a Nobel? The Nobel Peace Prize was created by the will of the Swedish industrialist and inventor Alfred Nobel to award people who do great things to promote peace. Alfred Nobel invented dynamite and owned armament factories, so he got rich from selling weapons, and now he's the symbol of world peace. You might as well call it the Bin Laden Award. Alfred Nobel is the Peace Prize master. What about renaming it the Gandhi Award? Hey, the name Nobel is great. You're such a pessimist. So, the PLO's Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin both won Nobel Peace Prizes in 1994 for the Oslo Agreement. I guess they went from the Middle East to Norway to negotiate, so they'd be right next to Sweden and they could easily win Nobels. We are sure to win if we sign this agreement in the backyard of the Peace Prize building. I think the judge is looking now. Hug me. Oh, I'll hug you. But only for warmth, because I'm a freezing Palestinian in Norway. Wow, so then the whole world must have been happy with peace for a whole 5 minutes until Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by a radical Jew named Yigal Amir. Yigal disagreed with the Oslo Agreement. He looks like magician David Blaine, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, because when you hear he assassinated the prime minister of a country with one of the greatest intelligence services in the world, you'd ask, how'd he do that? What does all this have to do with Hamas from earlier in the episode? Okay, this is where it all comes together. So we said originally that in 1979, the biggest threat when Hamas was formed was the PLO. So Israel funded Hamas to beat the PLO. But then in 1994, the PLO agreed to peace with the Oslo Agreement. But Hamas hated the deal. So Hamas became the big threat and the West wanted him gone. So in 2007, the United States funded the PLO in the Gaza Strip to have a coup to get rid of Hamas. Dude, Dude, you're overloading the alien with information, while at the same time pissing off people who actually understand the situation due to your oversimplification. Let me see if I get this straight. You're saying that Israel funded Hamas to destroy the PLO, but later America funded the PLO to destroy Hamas. This is surprising. Have you learned nothing from Hypocrite Twins seasons 1 and 2? In every conflict, both sides are armed. Everyone gets love. I told you Israel's like Kim Kardashian. She's a self-serving slut. It's Palestinian human rights groups that turn Israel into Kim Kardashian, because most of their photos are fake. Let's end the episode here. In the next episode, we'll discuss the PLO vs. Hamas coup. To the subscribers, make sure that your notifications are turned on. If you want this channel to exist, I urge you to share these videos with your friends. It's important that some type of pro-con content exists in Earth's culture of hate. Perhaps your vote is meaningless, but it's through your actions that you can change the world. Man, this show has gaping plot flaws. Every episode, the alien ends with a heartfelt speech. But 10 minutes ago, he didn't know anything about the topic. He must be trying to win a Nobel. I told you we should have filmed in Norway. You don't have to try hard to win a Nobel. You're a liberal. They hand liberals Nobels just for breathing, like Barack Obama got one for droning people to death. So just like Alfred Nobel, they're hypocrites. Death to anyone who resists my peace prize. Isn't that right, evil wizard Saruman? Yeah! I'll show you how to use dynamite as soon as I regain use of my arms. Hey, is this video over? I'm blind.